Welcome to Thriving Entrepreneur with your host, Steve Kidd, third-generation minister and 30-year business coach. Listen in as amazing, world-changing authors, speakers, and coaches share their struggles and victories. And hear from best-selling authors insight into how you too can live your life as a thriving entrepreneur.
This is Steve. Welcome to Thriving Entrepreneur. How are you doing today? Take a minute. Inhale. Just allow yourself to rest, to breathe, and to know that, sometimes we have really good days, and sometimes we have plans for it to be a good day and it doesn't. And other times, we kind of wake up and we know it's just going to be a bad day. You know how it goes. But the thing about it is that every minute is a chance to reboot. Every day is a new opportunity. And at the end of the day, you can determine your destiny. There are things in this world that you cannot control. You can't control the weather. You can't control other people's attitudes, actions, and reactions. But you can control yourself. And from that, you can get up from whatever it might have been, and you can be more, do more, reach heights and go places that you never would have thought, you maybe never even thought of doing. You have that capability. You have that ability within you. It's one of the best parts about being a human is our ability to reinvent ourselves, our ability to grow from wherever we were to wherever we're going. It's exciting for me sometimes to talk about when I was a child growing up. You've heard in the intro, most of you know I'm a third-generation minister. My mother's father was a pastor in rural Montana, South Dakota. So very small churches, and most of the churches that he went to, they brought him there because he was a talented construction, general contractor basically, and could repair the house and the building for them and would basically do it for free. And so they grew up. I think my mom told me one time that in retirement, they had their house paid for and $400 a month. And that was the most money they had ever had in their whole entire life. And that was in the mid-'80s. So, we're not talking about 1960. Think about $400 a month and how much. I know that even in Indiana, where I was living at the time, my rent was $250. Before you pay utilities or any of that kind of stuff. So I'm just saying that they had that standard of living. And then, of course, my father was a pastor, and we lived in pretty nice neighborhoods, but we were definitely the low end financially in the nice neighborhood we were in. And the thing about that is that what I've learned over the course of life is that, yes, there are things from our past that create blueprints of what we see in life, where we're going, but we can always reboot. We have the ability to rise above where we're at. Some of that just comes purely and totally from practice. We work at it. We work hard. Effort that you put into something will put back a return from that effort. Brings me to one of my favorite phrases. I remember just vividly when a friend of mine said this to me. How many of you are familiar with the phrase, practice makes perfect? The truth of the matter is that is absolutely untrue. Because if you practice doing something wrong and you practice it forever, you will never perfect that. What really makes perfect is perfect practice. So you put in the effort, you put in the work, you put in your energy, and God, the universe, whatever you believe in turn comes back and gives to us the result of that attitude and action that we put out there. And so I encourage you, I hope you're having a great day today, but if you're not, have I got an amazing guest for you today that is going to share with you a story that's both going to help you evaluate what feels like a bad day today, as well as really pour into you some key secrets in both your life and your business, how you can pick yourself up, you can reboot, you can take what you've spent your whole life planning for, learn from that, and have a potentially even better life than you expected or that you thought of because of the effort and energy that you put in the first phase of your life. So I encourage you, you want to hear this. My guest today is going to blow your socks off with his incredible story and with his brand new international best-selling book. You won't want to miss to learn how you can be the best version of yourself. With that said, I'm going to take our first quick commercial break, and we will be right back here on Thriving Entrepreneur. You're going to want to hear this guest. Don't go away. You've heard Kathy and I talk about it. You've seen the workshops. You have watched as others of your friends have become a best-selling author, and now it's your turn. Let me ask you this. What would being a best-selling author do for your business? Over 80% of people surveyed said that they want to write a book, which means that if you're listening, you probably are one of those people. Now is your time because you have a message that needs to be shared. That message is not for you. It's not for your ego. It is because it serves other people. Kathy and I are here to help you share your unique brilliance with the world. All you need to do is go to WeHelpYouThrive.com, check us out, and find out how you can be a best-selling author today.
Welcome back to Thriving Entrepreneur.
This is Steve. Welcome back to Thriving Entrepreneur. Grab your paper and pen. This is going to be a guest you're going to want to take some notes on. Wow, have we got a good one for you today. We are joined by multiple-time Olympic athlete, an athlete that has represented his country in 3 different sports, but maybe is best known for the video that you've seen from the horrible fall that he took because of a hamstring issue in the 1992 Olympics and the courageous end to that. I am so excited to bring to you and to invite into the show today Redmond. Hi, Derek. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, how you doing? My pleasure. My pleasure at all.
So, Derek, we got a lot of fun things to cover today, but we should start off by talking about that fateful day in 1992 when you were in the Olympics and everything you had planned didn't turn out the way that it was. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, so I guess I'd start at the beginning. I'm a former track and field athlete, competed for Great Britain on many occasions. I've sort of been British champion, European champion, Commonwealth champion, world champion, and competed in a couple of Olympics. And as you alluded to, my second Olympics in 1992, I was possibly more famous for losing a race than actually winning a race in one respect. I was one of the favourites to win a medal at those Olympic Games, and in the semi-final, after winning the first 2 rounds, I pulled my hamstring in the semi-final with 250 metres to go, and I decided to, after falling to the ground, I decided to get up and continue running, and with about 100 metres to go, my dad came on the track to help me finish the race.
For people who haven't seen it, it is an amazing video to watch the resilience that you have and all that you went through. But as I've heard the story, basically, when your dad came down and helped you finish the race, at that point, you still thought you had the ability to win, to still get the gold medal. Can you tell us a little bit about what was going through your head and that kind of thing at that point?
Well, not quite at that point. So what happened was when I pulled my hamstring after 150 meters, I obviously fell over. I was in a lot of pain and fell to the track. After a few seconds of sort of words of frustration, let's say, I remembered where I was, and I was in the Olympic semi-final. And the rest of the guys still had about 150, maybe 130 meters to go. And it was at that point that I thought I could still qualify, and that's what made me get up and start running. And then once I'd hobbled 50 meters, so I was at the 200 meter mark, I had to look over to see if I was catching them, because in my mind I still think I could finish. And they had finished, and then I decided I was going to finish that race, because I just had to finish the race. So I continued hobbling the final 200, and after 100 meters, then my dad sort of came on with an aim of trying to stop me, and I just said, no, I need to finish this race. And he said, okay, we'll finish it together. And I just remember shouting at him, get me back into lane 5, which was the lane I'd been assigned for the race. And I just I'd started in lane 5, and I wanted to finish in lane 5.
That is so amazing. So after that point, you represented your country in several other sports, though. Briefly, can you tell us what other sports you've been, representative of your country for?
Yeah, so the other sport that I competed for in my country was basketball. So after that Barcelona episode, to cut a very long story short, I had quite a few surgeries on my hamstring, which were all unsuccessful. And the surgeon who did all the operations basically told me that, look, there's no point in fighting this. It's over. You'll never compete for your country again. Basically, go and get yourself a real job, was his words. And I didn't like that, and I proved him wrong. And I did retire from track and field and started playing some basketball. And about 3 years after he told me I'd never compete for my country again, I sent him a photograph of me playing basketball for England. So that was the second sport. The third sport, which I didn't actually quite get into the England team, but I did play professionally, was rugby. And I did try out for England in sevens, rugby sevens, but didn't quite make it. So it's only one other sport, although I've been professional in 3.
That's awesome. So since that time, because that Olympics was 1992, what Olympics was
Correct.
it that you were in basketball?
I didn't go to the Olympics for basketball. That was
okay.
just a one-off international. So I've only competed in 2 Olympic games.
Okay.
So no, it wasn't. It was for England as opposed to playing for Great Britain, which would have been an Olympic team. Yeah.
Absolutely. So catch us up on the last 16 or so years. You've done a whole lot of amazing things since then. Talk to us about the business you've developed.
So, yeah, I mean, there've been a couple of businesses that I tried, obviously, as you do. I guess I've got a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit, and I tried a few things. So I had a company making and manufacturing gym equipment, and that went well, and then didn't go so well. And then I got into motivational speaking, a number of years ago, pretty much, I don't know, best part of 1999 sort of time. And I started, motivational speaking, and that grew and grew and grew and became quite successful, very successful for me. And then during that time, I became a performance coach. So I would go into companies and businesses and help them develop their people to perform at whatever level that they want to perform at, whether it's individually or within teams. And a lot of my theories really did come from the world of sport and what I and other sportsmen achieve in the world of sport, and that's what I'm pretty much doing currently, which I really enjoy. I travel the world with that work, I get a lot out of it.
Your international best-selling book is called Sport is a Business, Business is a Sport. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, absolutely. So the book really is based around one of my presentations of the same title. And it's quite interesting because of that particular presentation, for many years, I used to pretty much open up with one of 2 sayings, one of them being sport is a business and business is a sport. and the other one being the mindset of a successful sports person actually is no different to the mindset of a successful business person. So the title Sport is a Business, Business is Sport really represents how there isn't a major difference, in my eyes, there isn't a difference between competing at the highest level and working at the highest level. There's so many similarities between the two that actually, one is the other and the other is the one, hence the title. And, one of the questions that I get asked often is how did I make that transition between the world of sport and the world of business? And I always say that I didn't really make a transition. I just changed sporting events because I approach my business life the same way I did my sporting life. It's the only way I know how to prepare, how to succeed and become successful because I was a sportsman for so many years. So the book really just shares a lot of my principles, my thoughts and my theories, if you like, on how using the principles of what I and other people use in the world of sport, you can use in the world of business to succeed.
So talk to me a little bit about this concept. It's even on the back cover of your book, about measuring success on your own terms.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things, again, in sport is, and I'll use track and field at the moment because that was my sport. One of the things that you are taught, no matter how you train, no matter what style of way that you run, you have to run your own race. So actually, you're your biggest competition, you're your biggest critic, and if you try and run somebody else's race, somebody else's style of race, the way that they kind of run, then actually you've lost that race because it's not you performing at your best. So again, it's the same in business. You will be your biggest critic, and yes, you will grade yourself against the other competition that's out there, whether that be on the sporting field or in the work, in the workplace. But you need to look at your own game plan, have the confidence that what you're going to do is right, learn from others, learn from their mistakes, even learn from their successes, but build that into your own game plan. And as I say, pretty much run your own race. And if you do that, then, there's no reason why you can't achieve everything that you set out to achieve. So that's really the theory behind that.
So what is the secret to, you plan, you really invest your life in it, and then the outcome definitely isn't what you expected, what you intended. How do you reboot from a tragedy like that?
Do you know what? I don't think you need to actually completely reboot. I mean, my theory is, and again, this comes from what I did in the world of sport, it really comes down to confidence. One of the things that I always believed in my sporting career, again, we'll stick with track and field, is that I could be the best in the world. I could be, a world record holder, a world record breaker. And I always believed that. Now, I never, ever held the world record. Every race I ran, I went out to break the world record because I believed that I could. And the thing that I believe stopped me from breaking the world record wasn't actually the lack of ability. Unfortunately for me, was the amount of injuries that I had. But what I take away from that is, if you believe in something, if you have the confidence and believe that you can achieve it, then no matter what's put in your path, no matter what challenges that you come across, no matter what roads, what walls, what blocks, whatever you want to call them, I refer to them as challenges and put in your way. If you stay focused on what you feel you're able to do, you can actually get through those challenges and those problems and those setbacks. So it's not really, in my eyes, a complete reboot. It's just a little bit of a slowing down of you getting to that aim, but hopefully, or getting to, achieving that goal, but hopefully by looking in the distance at that end goal, you'll eventually step around these issues and problems that are put in front of you. So I guess in a long way, what I'm saying is having that confidence and belief that you can achieve it. And you have to have that, because if you don't believe and have the confidence in yourself, you can't expect anybody else to. I never go into anything half-heartedly and thinking, oh well, let's just see how far it goes and we'll go from there. I'll only do things that I feel and set things at a level that I feel that I am able to achieve. And I like to set my goals pretty high. And sometimes it's not easy to get there, but you do need to have that belief and that faith. And it could be, on occasions, quite a lonely path towards that goal. A lot of the times, as I say, if you have that belief and faith, you tend to find other people want to help you, and there's no suggestion that you can achieve all these things on your own. But you do need to be the spearhead of that confidence, that belief, that faith that you can achieve it. And, I honestly believe that if you're patient enough and you want it bad enough, you'll get it.
I know over the years, both in business and in sports, you have met some incredible people that have done amazing things, but you've also met some incredible people that just never really lived up to their potential. What do you think is the difference between somebody that becomes a superstar and somebody that becomes a wasn't?
That's a good question, tough question. I mean, yeah, you're right. I've met some absolutely fantastic people, and some of the people that really do go, above and beyond to achieve their goals, again have that tenacity, that stubbornness, that inability to stop, that ability just to keep on going. And none of these things are easy. There's very, very, very few people that have tried something and been successful first time without any issue. And there are some people that have tried and tend to kind of give up at the 11th hour. There's some talented people out there who have the ability in sport and in business to do it, but don't have the mindset. And there are other people that don't quite have the same talent, but have the mindset and are pretty much stubborn and will not take no for an answer. And that's possibly where I put myself. And you also got to remember, success means different things to different people. So to one person, having £1 billion in the bank, the biggest houses around the world, and lots of cars, that's success for them. For other people, it might not be that. It could be something a lot sort of lower down. So it depends on how you measure your success and what we measure it on. And people are very simple or very, what's the word I'm looking for? They're very quick to measure success on one thing, on what they see that person owns, has, from a materialistic point of view. And that isn't the only way to measure, success. As you said, I've met some great people over the years, and I could sit here and name lots of them. And they all have something in common, and that is a huge amount of confidence, huge amount of belief that they and other people can achieve things if they set their mind to it.
What the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. Your mind cannot distinguish between what you vividly imagine and what actually happens. So it starts in your head. It starts with that upper head brain work, and then it translates into what you see in your body and in your life. And so I encourage you, begin to conceive and believe in it so that you really can achieve. We've got way more coming up with Derek. We're going to take our second quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back here on Thriving Entrepreneur. You've heard Kathy and I talk about it. You've seen the workshops. You have watched as others of your friends have become a best-selling author, and now it's your turn. Let me ask you this. What would being a best-selling author do for your business? Over 80% of people surveyed said that they want to write a book, which means that if you're listening, you probably are one of those people. Now is your time, because you have a message that needs to be shared. That message is not for you. It's not for your ego. It is because it serves other people. Kathy and I are here to help you share your unique brilliance with the world. All you need to do is go to wehelpyouthrive.com, check us out, and find out how you can be a best-selling author today.
Welcome back to Thriving Entrepreneur.
This is Steve. Welcome back. Thanks for listening to Thriving Entrepreneur. We're listening to international best-selling author Derek Redmond as he talks about his book and information from his book, Sport as a Business and Business as a Sport, where he shares with us some secrets that he's learned both in business as well as in sports, how you can succeed in your life and in your business. So let's jump right back into our discussion with Derek. So I'm curious then, looking back across your life and some of the really tough moments, if you could go back in time and redo them, would you do things differently, or are you glad for the way that it turned out?
If we're talking about the Olympics, if I'm really honest, no, I'm not glad for the way it turned out, because my aim was to win Olympic gold, and I do believe I could have medalled at those Olympic Games. And as you know, the sportsman in me will tell you that it was about the medal. The ironic thing is, I don't think I would have been as well known, as popular, as famous, or whatever word you want to use, had I won an Olympic medal, as opposed to what actually happened to me. As you said in your introduction, that clip has been viewed millions and millions of times on YouTube. Barack Obama, the former president, has mentioned it in a speech. It's used, oh goodness, every Olympic Games it sort of comes out, and not just every 4 years, but it's been used in adverts, in advertisements. It's been used in campaigns. It's something that has become, one of the kind of biggest Olympic moments in history. And that's not me saying that. However, I would have rather a gold medal. So, but to answer your question, would I have changed things? Yes, of course, there's certain things that I would have changed. It doesn't mean that I would have been successful in those things. It just means they maybe wouldn't have failed in the ways that they did. Am I pleased for am I satisfied and pleased with the way that my life has panned out? Obviously, yes, with all the setbacks, because that's what's made me the person that I am. And had I had everything handed to me on a plate and work first time every time, then I certainly wouldn't be the person that I am, and I don't think that would be a realistic way to view the world. So, there's a few minor things I'd change, but to be honest with you, no, the way it worked out is the way it is. And there's a saying that you can only play the game with the cards that you've been dealt, and that's what I have done, and that's what I try to do.
So you glossed through a pretty big thing that I'd like to go back to for a second. President Barack Obama used you in one of his speeches. First of all, did you hear that live, or did you find out about it later?
No, I found out about it later. When it happened, literally, I was actually picking my wife up from work. Some of the mundane things that we have to do, and my phone sort of went off, and I spoke to one person, and they mentioned it, and I didn't really take much notice, and then my phone was just blown off the hook from different reporters, goodness knows what, saying, "Have you heard President Barack Obama's latest speech?" And I said, "No, what was it about?" And they said, "Well, he mentioned you." And I said, "Really?" And it was a speech that he was given, or he was given to. I'm trying to think. Chicago is his hometown, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And Chicago were bidding for the 2016 Olympics, which ended up going to Rio, as we know. But 7 years prior to that, Chicago was one of the countries that was bidding for the Games. and it was a speech that he was giving for that particular subject, for hoping that Chicago would be the country that got picked for the 2016 Olympic Games. And during that presentation, he mentioned my name, and I can't remember the actual words, but really talking about the tenacity of people doing things that is humanly impossible, but the human spirit kind of takes over. Physically impossible, but the human spirit takes over. I did eventually see the actual speech. I was sent like a transcript that someone had obviously listened to it and typed it up, and they sent me that. And then a couple of years later, and it was literally a couple of years later, I actually was doing some TV work for Spanish TV, and they managed to get the actual interview, and that was the first time I saw it.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So you name dropped, the president, and you said there's a couple other people. Of all the people you've met, I want to actually do in two categories. First of all, let's talk about people in sports that you've met that really made an impact on you, and then I want to also talk about business people that have really made an impact on you.
Okay, so in sports, one of the biggest names that I've met him, he wouldn't remember me, but obviously I remember him, and someone who I did admire when he was competing and still do with what he did, and that was Michael Jordan. I was a massive fan of his. I was a huge basketball fan anyway, as you obviously know, and he was somebody that when I was competing, I used to watch his back then videos. That's how long ago I'm going back. And there was a couple of videos that he did. One was called Michael Jordan's Playground, and the other one was called Come Fly With Me. And they were great motivational videos for me. And I was going through periods of injury problems and missing lots of, competitions and goodness knows what. And those sort of videos helped me sort of just re-engage and stay focused and believe in myself with, a lot of what he went through. So he was certainly someone from the world of sport. Somebody else from the world of sport from the UK is a decathlete by the name of Daley Thompson. Now Daley Thompson was, two-time Olympic champion. He held the world record. I had the privilege of knowing and training with him, funny enough, in LA for a number of years. And again, he was somebody who was just ultra competitive and ultra positive, and he had that knack of being able to, without trying, motivating people who were around him and trained with him. And he saw things in quite a simple way, work hard, train hard, reap the benefits. And it was as simple as that with him. So they're two people in the world of sport. In business, there's a guy from Canada, Errol Abramson, who's been involved in many businesses. He's financially he's set and secure, and now he literally travels the world helping people become successful in their own right, regardless to what business they're in. And we've spent a lot of time Skype calling and just getting a lot of advice from him, and he kind of mentors me, if you like. And we met literally by accident. He wanted to meet me. He was over in England a few years ago, and we met at a presentation that he managed to get me to speak at. And the first evening when we met, it was unbelievable. We just hit it off, and it was like I was almost looking at myself, albeit he was a lot older than me. So no, that was someone, and that is someone who's a good guy and has helped me a lot. And also someone actually kind of in business. Well, it is in business, but not just from the business or from the sporting side, but my dad. My dad is someone who has inspired me and was very successful in business in his own right. and obviously supported me through my track and field career from day one. And he never coached me, although he did advise me. But again, he took that business approach to my athletics career. And I guess if I think about it, he was the first person to kind of link a business attitude and mindset to my sport. And I'm talking when I was 11, 12, 13 years of age. So I guess that's where it all kind of started. And now I've kind of flipped it around and used what I've learned in sport to help people in the world of business.
Are you and your dad as close as it seems? I mean, such a touching moment in the video, but are you guys, that close in day-to-day business, in day-to-day life and business?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, my dad, not only are we that close, sort of, if you like, from what's the word I'm looking for? Physically we're close. We live about 5 minutes apart, but obviously, we are close anyway. We speak a lot. We speak a lot. We spend maybe not as much time together as we could or should because of, commitments, work commitments. I'm here, there and everywhere, but we are very close. As I say, he only lives 3-4 minutes away from my house. We've always been close. I have one sister who's 2 years older than me. And again, between my parents' house and, if you went from my parents' house to my house to my sister's house, and then my sister's house back to my parents' house, you could drive that in under 10 minutes. So we're all, we are, very close, not only physically, or geographically, I should say. Yeah, but we are a very close unit and a close family. So yes, what you see on the videos is what you get. We are, my dad and I, we are close.
That's so awesome. I love that. So the book is called Sport is a Business, Business is a Sport. So let's talk to the people who are in their version of training for their Olympics, whatever that might be. Because you said earlier, success is really something defined by yourself. What are some things that a person can do, though, to really train themselves to be successful in business?
I think some of the things that they can do, at first, and I'm kind of going to repeat myself here, is have that belief and that faith. That is, to be honest with you, the strongest thing that you can have within you, the belief and the faith. There's a saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make the horse drink it. And, if you really don't believe that you can achieve whatever it is, or you can get yourself to a certain standard, or if it's in sport, win a medal or make a final or whatever it is, then there's a good chance you're not going to do it. So you have to believe it. And that's something that I can't convince somebody, you can't convince somebody. It's something that they have to believe that they can achieve it. And they got to want it bad enough. So for me, that's the first thing. One of the other things, the next thing really is to try and seek advice, help. I like to hope that my book can help trigger some ideas and some thoughts in people's mind. And whether it's my book or whether it's me speaking in a presentation, I like to say that I'm thought-provoking. I don't have all the answers, but these are some ideas, some theories, some ways that can help you to get closer and achieve what it is that you want to, achieve. No one person has all the answers. I mentioned Errol. Errol is very successful, and he has lots of different thoughts and ideas. And I know there was a book that he read called Think and Grow Rich that really did kind of set the way that he lived his life, his business life, and that worked for him, and it's worked for a lot of other people. So there is more than one way to skin a cat. So books like mine, I know Errol has a book out as well. Books like Errol's, these are the sort of things that people can read, and you can take the bits that really sort of hit you and resonate with you, and you can use these sort of things in your own journey to success. It's a bit like coaching. I've been coached by some fantastic coaches over the years, both here and in the United States. And if I was to coach an athlete, it wouldn't be from everything I've learned from one coach. It would be a combination of what I've learned from all those coaches, plus the experiences that I've had and stuff that I've learned myself. And that's the way that we all develop. So, I would urge people to not just look at my book, not just look at Errol's, but, there's a lot of sort of self-help books that, out there that you can look at and pick out bits that resonate with you. Because the one thing in common with all of these people, we have all been successful in our own ways, and we're sharing the secrets to our success, and they can help you, hopefully, on the journey to your success, whatever that be. So there's no one thing that you can really teach people. I guess one of the things I could say is being open-minded, taking on all this information, and as I say, it becomes thought-provoking, and hopefully you can use that combined with your confidence and your belief and your drive. And wow, if you've got all that, then there's no way you're not going to succeed.
What are you going to do with this information? I love bringing you guests like Derek because he has the ability to share with you some very high-end principles that have helped him succeed at some of the highest levels in business, in sports, in life. And yet it's on us, each of us, as we listen, to take notes, to get the information, to, even listen to it again, to be able to pick up things we missed the first time, and then take action on what we've learned. So I ask you again, what are you going to do with what you've heard so far from Derek? Now, there's still more to come, so don't go away, because Derek's going to share some more really juicy nuggets with us of ways that you can up-level your life and your business. Don't go away. We'll be right back here on Thriving Entrepreneur. You've heard Kathy and I talk about it. You've seen the workshops. You have watched as others of your friends have become a best-selling author, and now it's your turn. Let me ask you this. What would being a best-selling author do for your business? Over 80% of people surveyed said that they want to write a book, which means that if you're listening, you probably are one of those people. Now is your time, because you have a message that needs to be shared. That message is not for you. It's not for your ego. It is because it serves other people. Kathy and I are here to help you share your unique brilliance with the world. All you need to do is go to WeHelpYouThrive.com, check us out, and find out how you can be a best-selling author today.
Welcome back to Thriving Entrepreneur.
This is Steve. Welcome back to Thriving Entrepreneur. We're talking to world champion athlete, inspirational keynote and motivational speaker, and international best-selling author Derek Redmond. His book, Sport is a Business, Business is a Sport. He's been dropping some bombs on us today with some insightful information that I hope you're taking notes on. But there's more still to come. So we're going to jump back into our talk with Derek and see what else we can learn. Inspiration is so key to success in anything. What would be some of the things that you would want to say to somebody listening today to inspire them that they can be successful?
Okay. Again, let me start by using an example from the world of sport. So in my event, there was an athlete by the name of Michael Johnson who pretty much rewrote the books when it comes to running the 400 meters. And he was the world record holder, multiple Olympic champion, not only over 400, but also 200 meters. He was the Usain Bolt of our era. In fact, it took Usain Bolt a long time to break his 200 meter world record. And one of the things that I always believed If he could do it, there's no reason why I can't do it. He has 2 legs, 2 arms, 1 head, 1 nose, 2 eyes, exactly the same as me. So, and there was a time when he wasn't as quick as he is. So how do I know that my time is not going to come? So using that sort of example, again, I look at successful people. I look at people in the world of business who have been successful. They're regular people. They were all born with no knowledge. They couldn't speak. They learned to speak. They learned to walk. They learned to talk. They learned to do all of these things. And yet still they become successful. So why is that? It's because they have that tenacity, that belief, that motivation, that stubbornness that I talk about, to not let anything get in their way. And I honestly believe when I'm watching TV programs about the rich and the famous, when I'm watching TV shows about, I don't know, successful businessmen or businesswomen, all these sort of things that we look at, I look at them and I actually say, you know what? If they can do it, there's no reason I can't. Why I can't do it? Why can't I do it if they do it? Yes, they are special people, but they're not special people. They are regular people like you and me, and they have just made a decision to not let anything get in the way en route to them being successful. And that's what I would say to people is, if you really, really want it, look at these people, study these people, and really just look at them and say, well, if they can, I can. And to me, that's the way I look at it. And I think, well, why can't I? Because, as I say, they have the same chances as we do. And all of these people that are successful all don't start from wealthy families or goodness knows what. There's thousands, millions of rags to riches stories out there. I met a guy a couple of days ago who came to the UK not speaking English, and now he had a love for football. He wasn't good enough to make it, or soccer, as you guys would say in America. He had a love for soccer. He wasn't good enough to make it in the world of soccer, but that was his passion, and he took that passion he had for soccer and he put it into building, and now the guy is very successful. He has multiple building companies. He's built hotels and goodness knows what, football stadiums all around the world. And this was a guy who came to the UK who couldn't even speak a word of English. So they're the kind of stories that I like to hear and like to hang on to, because they show me that anybody from any walk of life can be successful if you want it bad enough.
That ties so well into the phrase that's on the cover of your book, a phrase I love, that's learning to control what you can control and not worry about what you couldn't. What does that phrase mean to you?
Well, it's, again, coming from the world of sport, and I can't control what any other athlete does. So in my race, you have an Olympic final. There's 8 of you in the final, so there's me and 7 others. I have no control of how fast or slow that they're going to run. The only one person that I can have any control over is me. So then I make sure that I dot every I, cross every T, and make sure that I do everything I can to make sure that I perform at my best. And that's all you can do. And at the end of the day, if your best is good enough, you will win. And if your best is not good enough, you'll do as well as you can. And obviously you may not end up finishing first, but you can't control what anybody else does. So again, if you want to transfer that into the world of business, don't worry and waste time worrying about the things that you have no control over, because you're wasting valuable time working on that you could be working on the things that you do have control over, and the things that you can do to make yourself more successful. And a lot of the time in sport and in business, people spend a lot of time looking at the opposition. And again, I'll use a phrase that I used earlier on: running somebody else's race. You're wasting time. You're wasting energy. Just use that time, effort, and energy on working on what you have control over, because there are things in this world that we can't stop anyone being more successful than us. We can make it more difficult for them if we're very successful, and again, in the world of sport, if my attitude was, I'm going to run really, really fast. And if you're going to beat me, you're going to have to run a hell of a lot quicker than I am. I'm not going to give you an easy victory. And if they do, the only thing you can do is hold your hand up and go, man, good on you. You know, I'll shake your hand because that was unbelievable. Because I know I ran quick, and for you to finish me, finish in front of me, you had to run seriously quick. So, you know, for me in sport, I didn't want to give any soft victories. I wanted people to work for it if they were going to beat me. And in business, the same thing. I'm going to be as successful as I can. And hopefully whatever business I'm involved in, I want to make that the best business in the world. And if it is, that's what I expected. If it isn't, then I'm going to make that other company work twice as hard to be better than me. And again, that's what I mean by sort of, working on the things that you and concentrating on the things that you can control, and don't worry about the things that you can't control.
There have been so many great nuggets in all that you've shared today. I hope people have paper and pen and they've been taking notes. But just to kind of reiterate, both things you've said or something else from the book, what is one thing that somebody could take action on? They could, at the end of this show, they could go and do right now to have a positive impact in their business.
Personally, read the book. Sport is a business, business is a sport. I think that would be a really good start to helping people, start on that journey to success. As you say, there's lots of great nuggets in the book, lots of bits that people can use. I'm not going to say every single thing will work for everybody, because that would be wrong to say that, but it would be would be a great start. And hopefully that, combined with having the belief and confidence in themselves, then they can go out and achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve.
I agree completely. I encourage everybody to get the book, Sport is a Business, Business is a Sport, by Derek Redmond, multiple-time Olympian, international bestseller, world traveler. I mean, the list just goes on and on of the things that Derek has done in his life and can share with you. Derek, I really appreciate the time you've taken with us today. You've really been open and vulnerable on a lot of subjects with us, and I really just want to thank you for taking the time to share with us a little bit of what's in your book so that people will buy your book.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you, talking to me, and it's been my pleasure to share a few of my secrets. And as I say, I hope the book does help other people and can help other people. That was the reason for me writing it. I refer to it more as a business tool than I do an autobiography, because I wanted to share some of the secrets to my success, and I'm certainly not the wealthiest guy in the world, but in my own way, I've achieved a lot of what I wanted to do, and I still have things that I want to do. So I still live those messages that are in the book. So no, thank you for your time as well.
Again, the book is called Sport is a Business, Business is a Sport, by Derek Redmond. Thanks so much for being on the show with us today, Derek.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
I love having guests on the show like Derek. Now, I love all of my guests, so I don't want anybody that's listening to be like, well, he loves Derek more than me. I don't mean it that way, but it's so fun to be able to bring you somebody like an Errol, like a Derek, like Lisa Nichols, like, the list goes on. Matthew Knowles has been on the show. And to give you that peek at the next step from where you are to where you're going. And I hope that really did encourage and motivate you to be able to go. There's always people that are 20 steps ahead of us, and we never can fall into the trap of looking at somebody else and being like, oh, well, I'll never reach that, so I'm going to give up. But rather to use that as fuel to go harder and faster. I love what Derek said about how, the thing he could control was he was going to run all out. He was going to give it everything. And if somebody beat him, he could then very happily shake their hand and congratulate them, because he knows that they had to have run a heck of a race in order to beat him. And that's what I want for you in life, because it really isn't about beating somebody else. It's about being the best version of yourself. And as I said in the intro, No matter what today looks like, no matter where your life is at now, you have, as a human being, that capability to be able to reboot, to go from where you are now to someplace different, to be able to turn a bad day into a good day, to turn a bad week into a good week, bad month, bad year, all of that. You have the ability for it to change right now. It doesn't have to be one of those kind of things where you have to wait till morning. Well, when I wake up in the morning, then things will be different. Sometimes it feels that way, and I get that, but it really doesn't have to be that way. You can make that decision no matter what time of day it is that you're listening to this show, and you can make the choice. Things are going to be different as of right now. Your mind doesn't know. Your mind isn't going to come back to you and go, well, no, we're not going to do that. We choose to be negative even though you've chosen to be positive. Your mind is just going to go with you wherever you want to go. You can end up like Derek, where even though you're down on the ground, that you look at the people who are finishing the race that you were going to win and think to yourself, I'm not only going to get back in this race, I'm still going to win. You can have that mindset. And then when you find that things are different than what you had wanted them to be, you can, again, like Derek, you can say, hey, I'm going to finish my race. I'm going to do everything that I can do at the best of my ability. And that's all that I wish for you today, is that you do your best. You put out the best of you into the world, because the world needs you. You have a message, a story to share that only you can share. Derek does Derek really well, and he filled that place that we need in the world. But now we need you to be the best version of you. You need to share that story. Kathy and I, we believe that you should write it down. And while you're writing a book, let's make it a bestseller. The journey for that starts as simply as just joining us at bestsellersguild.com. It's a free Facebook group. If you were on Facebook, you could just look up Bestsellers Guild. Either way, ask to join our group. Come on in. Be part of people who are changing the world with their message, with the global community that we're creating of people who are making a difference in the world, because you're one of those people, because you are uniquely brilliant. You were created for a purpose, and the world needs you. Please know that Kathy and I are here to help you do anything that we can do so that you can live your life in a positive, happy, successful way for you. Not to be somebody else, your version of Oprah, your version of Derek, your version of Lisa Nichols, but just to be the best you that you can be. And by doing that, you will be living every day of your life as a thriving entrepreneur. Because no matter what's happened, even a minute ago, you have within you the ability to reboot, make that change, and have things be different so that you can be a thriving entrepreneur. Until next time, have a great week.
Thanks for listening to Thriving Entrepreneur today. If you want to get your question answered, send an email to questions@wehelpyouthrive.com. We look forward to you joining us again next time.
You've heard Kathy and I talk about it. You've seen the workshops. You have watched as others of your friends have become a best-selling author. And now it's your turn. Let me ask you this. What would being a best-selling author do for your business? Over 80% of people surveyed said that they want to write a book, which means that if you're listening, you probably are one of those people. Now is your time, because you have a message that needs to be shared. That message is not for you. It's not for your ego. It is because it serves other people. Kathy and I are here to help you share your unique brilliance with the world. All you need to do is go to WeHelpYouThrive.com, check us out, and find out how you can be a best-selling author today.